There are souls who carry within them an ability that most humans cannot comprehend. They do not come to make noise or to stand in the spotlight. They come to see. They are the quantum observer, the one who sees through the flow of time, the one who is not trapped in the linear movement of past and future, but stands at the center where all possibilities coexist in a single still moment. While humanity views life as a sequence of events, the observer perceives the deeper structure where energy moves, intersects, and reorganizes itself. At this level, reality is no longer something that happens to them, but something that happens because of them. For in the quantum world, perception does not merely record reality, it shapes it. When the observer awakens, they no longer see with their eyes, but with awareness itself. They sense the subtle vibration between two thoughts, two emotions, two breaths. Every time they place their attention on something, the energy of that thing changes instantly. Just like in the double-slit experiment where light particles only form a pattern when observed, life operates on the same principle. Consciousness is not the audience, it is the author. And the quantum observer is the soul that remembers this role. From early on, those who carry this frequency feel different. They are quiet, preferring to observe rather than participate, deeply sensitive to even the smallest shifts in the air. When others rush, they pause. When others react, they remain silent. Not because they are weak, but because deep within, they know that every rush only creates more waves in a stream that is trying to find balance. Their stillness is not escape, it is power in its purest form. In that stillness, they hear what the world is too loud to notice the true rhythm of reality. The observer holds a rare ability, the gift of seeing the cycles repeat. They recognize patterns in chaos order, in randomness, rhythm, in collapse. When faced with an event, they do not ask why, they ask what it is teaching. In relationships, they do not just hear words, they feel the energy hidden behind every glance and every silence. And within themselves, they realize that every emotion is a doorway to deeper understanding. This ability makes them the keeper of frequency in the collective field of energy, yet this gift is not easy to carry, because when one can see so much, it is easy to feel separate. They watch the world but no longer feel part of it. They see people lost in illusions, chasing power, pursuing what is not real, and they want to cry out that it is all an energetic play, but they cannot, for they know that each soul must live its own illusion to awaken. So they choose silence, observation, light. For sometimes the fastest way to help the world is not by teaching, but by holding the frequency of pure awareness. When the observer reaches deep stillness, they discover what philosophy and science have long tried to express, that the observer and the observed are never separate. Reality is not objective. It is a mirror reflecting the exact state of one's consciousness. If you see the world through fear, you will find proof of fear. If you see through faith, the world will arrange itself to confirm your faith. The quantum observer knows this, so they do not try to control. They only tune the energy within, knowing that when their inner frequency shifts, all timelines outside shift as well. The true observer no longer seeks to win or lose, to be right or wrong. They only seek to see clearly. For when one truly sees, there is nothing left to resist. They learn to stand in the center of the storm and remain calm, knowing that the storm itself is another form of order being restored. They do not chase the light, for they understand that the light has never left them. They no longer try to heal, for they realize that nothing has ever truly been broken, only energy transforming. At the deepest level, the quantum observer is the living memory of the universe. They are the witness of consciousness evolving. When they see, the universe is seen. When they understand, the universe understands. And when they love in silence, everything heals. Not through action, but through presence. The world is shifting faster than ever. Energy is chaotic. Information overlaps. People are losing connection with themselves. In such times, the quantum observer appears to hold the axis of awareness steady. They do not come with promises of salvation, but with the truth that everyone has the same capacity to observe. Every time you pause, take a deep breath and look at your experience. Without judgment, you step into the frequency of the observer. There, you are no longer a victim of reality, you are its architect. And one day, when you are still enough, you will realize that the world was never outside of you. Everything is the reflection of consciousness trying to recognize itself. In that moment, you become the true observer, no longer asking what is happening, but smiling, knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. In that moment, time stops, and you return to where you have always belonged, the still point of the universe, where awareness itself is the light. To humanity, time has always been seen as an irreversible flow where the past lies behind the present is where we stand and the future remains open ahead. But to the quantum observer, that structure is only an illusion born from limited perception. They see time as a spiral of energy where all moments coexist, intertwining and influencing one another. Every action, every thought, every emotion not only shapes the future, but also ripples backward, editing and restructuring the very memories we thought were complete. In their world, time is not linear, but fractal, an infinite loop where the beginning and the end are one. When the observer reaches this level of awareness, they are no longer bound by the sensation of time passing. They step out of that frame and begin to see everything as one vast field of energy where all has always existed, simply waiting to be seen. They understand that nothing truly begins or ends, only consciousness shifting from potential to manifestation. And so every moment of their presence carries the power of eternity. The observer no longer measures time by clocks, but by frequency. They can feel the vibration of each moment, know when energy is expanding, when it is contracting, when a new doorway of possibility opens. Where the world speaks of luck, they speak of alignment. Where others speak of destiny, they speak of synchronization between awareness and reality. In their heart, there is no such thing as coincidence. Everything is the precise result of energetic resonance. A glance, a word, a fleeting dream, all are signals. Every time you focus your attention on something, you feed that timeline with energy, and that very attention decides which version of reality becomes real for you. That is why the quantum observer never takes lightly what they think or feel. They understand that each thought is a frequency, each emotion is a command sent into the universe. They do not try to control the world. They refine themselves, knowing that reality is only the reflection of the inner realm. When they shift the frequency of their awareness, the entire web of time around them begins to rearrange. Those who have not yet reached this level find it hard to believe, for they only know time as a fixed chain of events. But the observer knows that the future is not something that arrives, it is something that is chosen. Every choice, every belief, every feeling opens a different branch of time. When you are angry, you step into a timeline filled with more reasons to be angry. When you are grateful, you enter a timeline where everything unfolds to deepen that gratitude. The observer does not chase results. They simply tune their field to the frequency of the outcome they wish to experience. And when they do, reality must align. They no longer pray, saying, "Bring this to me." They speak in frequency. "I already am this." In the quantum world, state of being matters more than words. When you become the frequency of what you desire, you pull it from potential into manifestation. The observer does not live in memory, for they know memory is not fixed. It changes each time we recall it, and the very act of remembering is a form of energetic rewriting. Thus, they are careful with how they tell the story of their past. They do not say I was hurt, they say I learned to see myself more clearly. They do not say I lost, they say energy transformed its form. By redefining the past, they reshape the structure of the timeline they live in. In doing so, they do not only observe time, they command it. The quantum observer also realizes that every time we try to run from the past, we pull its energy into the present. Only when we are still enough to observe without resistance can old energy dissolve. In that stillness, we are no longer victims of memory, but keepers of it. And that is the deepest power of the observer, the ability to see without being pulled in. When energy is seen through neutral awareness, it becomes free. They understand that time does not move. Only we do, shifting through different vibrations of the same eternal moment. This is why the observer can recall what has not yet happened and sense what is coming without seeing it. Not because they are prophets, but because they are tuned to a layer of information that has always existed. The universe hides nothing, it simply waits for stillness deep enough to listen. When the observer reaches that stillness, they begin to feel time as music. They do not wish to rush or to delay, they only wish to stay in rhythm, for they know that when the inner and outer rhythms align, everything becomes perfect. And in that moment, they no longer distinguish between past, present, or future. All becomes one endless unfolding of the same point of awareness where light and shadow meet, where the observer and the observed dissolve into one and time returns to its true nature, a spiral of awakening that never ends. There is a subtle phenomenon that only those who are truly still can perceive the delay of energy. Between the moment you think a thought and the moment the world begins to respond, there is always a silence, so small it seems invisible. Yet within that silence, reality is created. The quantum observer understands that the universe does not respond instantly because energy needs time to organize, to rearrange its structure, to synchronize with the new frequency that consciousness has just emitted. That is why they are never in a hurry. They do not doubt when results have not yet appeared. They know that in that slowness, energy is moving beneath the surface, reshaping the entire network of possibilities. To them, patience is not a virtue. It is a deep understanding of the mechanics of the soul. The observer sees this law operating in every detail of life. When someone carries the energy of anxiety, the reality around them gradually becomes chaotic to reflect that vibration. When they are calm, everything begins to align itself. Not because the world has changed, but because their frequency has shifted first. In the quantum field, energy never lies. It only mirrors the exact vibration you hold. That is why the observer never asks why things happen. They ask where their energy was when it happened. They know that every circumstance, every encounter, every delay is a perfect response from the universe to the frequency within them. This does not make them passive, it makes them exquisitely aware. They do not try to change the world, they change how they see it, because they know that when perception shifts, the entire energetic structure shifts with it. When someone lives in fear, they emit the signal of insecurity, and the universe sends experiences that make them see their fear more clearly. When someone lives in gratitude, they emit harmony and everything begins to move in order to maintain that harmony. The observer does not pray for blessings, they give thanks first, knowing that everything they could ever need already exists. They do not send requests to the universe, they send frequencies. And the universe responds only to frequency, not to words. That is why the observer seems to live slower, lighter, yet everything around them unfolds with greater precision. They understand that delay is not an obstacle, but an opportunity to refine. In the silence between intention and manifestation, they adjust their energy until it becomes transparent without resistance, without doubt. And when that happens, the result no longer appears as a miracle, but as the natural reaction of an honest universe. On a deeper level, the observer sees that the delay of energy exists not only in action but in emotion. Every emotion is a signal traveling through space, finding its way back to its source in the form of circumstances. That is why they are mindful of what they feel. They do not suppress, but they also do not let emotions lead them. They simply observe, allowing energy to pass without leaving an imprint. When we feel anger, that energy leaves us as a wave, and it will return not to punish, but to show us what we have sent out. The observer understands this, so they do not complain when challenges arise. They smile, knowing they are harvesting what they once planted, and in that recognition, the cycle closes and energy is released. The delay is also why the world seems slow to respond to human awakening. When one soul changes, it takes time for the new vibration to ripple out, for reality to adjust. The observer does not panic in that process. They do not demand proof, because they know proof is coming, only not yet at a frequency visible to the eye. They trust the quiet movement of energy as surely as they trust that dawn will come, even when the sky is still dark. To them, time is no longer an enemy, but an ally. It gives space for energy to complete its cycles, for what no longer fits to fall away without force. When the world falls into chaos, the observer remains still. They understand that when collective energy is unstable, the answer is not to react, but to hold the calm frequency that anchors the field. They do not react, they adjust. They do not judge, they observe. And through that simplicity, the energy around them becomes stable again. Some say the observer lives too slowly, too detached. But they are not slow, they are synchronized. They do not struggle to keep up, because they are already aligned with the rhythm of the universe. When the inner and outer energies move, as one time loses meaning, and everything flows without effort. In that state, they no longer ask when what they want will come, because they understand it has always existed, waiting for them to be still enough to see it. The observer knows that the delay of energy is not postponement, but preservation of order. It ensures that only what truly matches the present frequency can enter their reality. So if something has not come, they know it does not yet belong to their vibration. They do not force, they fine-tune. They do not pull the future closer, they expand the present until the future can enter. That is how they move between timelines. In a world addicted to instant reaction, immediate results, and short-term satisfaction, the quantum observer becomes a living paradox. They do not react, they resonate, they do not chase, they allow. And in that allowing, everything comes faster than anyone could imagine. Not because they control, but because they have surrendered deeply enough to let energy return to its natural course. They know the universe is never silent, it is simply rearranging. And in the space between the question and the answer, between intention and outcome, between silence and revelation, it is there that true miracles are born. There is a kind of power that few ever touch, not because it is distant, but because it is silent. It is the power of neutrality. The quantum observer understands that between the poles of right and wrong, light and dark, victory and defeat, there exists a still point where energy no longer oscillates. It is there that all things return to their true nature. The observer lives in that stillness. They do not need to choose sides to prove or to convince. They know that whenever energy becomes polarized, perception becomes distorted. Only when the mind rests in the center does reality reveal itself as it truly is. In a world where everyone wants to speak, the observer chooses silence. In an age where everyone must have an opinion, they choose to see without needing agreement. Not because they are indifferent, but because they know that every extreme is merely two faces of the same energy searching for balance. If one side wins, both lose, for the center is lost. Neutrality is not apathy, it is the highest state of awareness where reaction gives way to understanding. The observer does not label events as good or bad. They see them as parts of expansion. When the world trembles, they do not fear. When something disappears, they do not grieve. They understand that every disruption is a sign of reorganization. Just like nature, when storms come, they do not destroy, they cleanse. And when human energy reaches neutrality, it becomes transparent, allowing the flow of the universe to move freely. In that transparency, miracles occur, for the universe can only flow through what does not resist. The observer knows that reaction is the subtlest form of resistance. Each time we react, we affirm that what we see holds power over us. But when we observe, we reclaim that power. We are no longer victims of circumstance. We become the space that contains it. The observer does not try to control reality. They allow it to unfold. And through that, allowing reality adjusts itself toward harmony. When one looks at the world with neutrality, they no longer emit waves of fear or desire. They radiate a single frequency, the frequency of calm. That frequency brings everything around them into resonance. People feel at peace in their presence. The air grows lighter when they enter a room. Collective energy seems cleansed simply by their existence. Not because they try to send energy, but because they are that energy. They do not need to speak, for their silence itself carries the vibration of healing. While most see neutrality as indecision, the observer knows it is mastery. Only when you are no longer pulled by emotion are you truly free. Emotion is not wrong, but when it controls you, it makes you forget who you are. Neutrality does not mean detachment, it means feeling completely without letting the ego define it. When the observer feels anger, they do not suppress it, they face it, allowing it to pass without residue. They understand that emotion is energy in motion, and if not judged, it will dissolve, but if labeled, it lingers. The observer has mastered the art of letting energy flow, and that makes them powerful because nothing can disturb them for long. In the quantum world, neutrality is the closest state to the frequency of source. When energy is no longer pulled apart, it returns to clarity. The observer, upon reaching this center, no longer sees the world as something to fix. They see it as a web of energy functioning perfectly to help every soul remember its essence. To them, every chaos is a lesson, every pain a signal of awakening. Thus, they no longer blame or seek reasons. They give thanks for being able to see. At a deeper level, neutrality is no longer a choice, but the natural state of the observer. When they are still enough to see that nothing is separate, there is no reason left to react. They see themselves in both light and darkness, in the loved and the despised, in life and in death. And when they see all as one, they return to absolute neutrality, where opposites dissolve. Their energy no longer vibrates, it becomes pure light. The observer in this state no longer needs to try to love, for they are love. They no longer seek peace, for they are peace. Nothing can harm them, for they no longer see themselves as apart from anything. Neutrality is no longer an effort to balance, but the natural expression of unity. In this awareness, the observer becomes a perfect quantum mirror. When someone looks into them, they see themselves. When someone touches their energy, they feel their own essence reflected back. And in that instant, they remember. They may not know why, but being near the observer makes them feel lighter, clearer, more real. That is the frequency of neutrality, the vibration of truth without bias, without proof, simply existing. When the world fractures under opinions and beliefs, the quantum observer is the heartbeat, keeping collective awareness from collapsing. They take no side because they are the whole. And within that wholeness, they bring balance to what is distorted, light to what is forgotten. It is light. Neutrality is not the middle between two extremes, but the foundation that holds both. When you reach that center, you no longer need to choose, for every choice is right at its frequency. And that is the secret of the observer. They do not live to win, they live to understand. They do not speak to argue, they speak to reveal. They do not exist to divide light from shadow, but to hold both in the sacred order of the universe. When the world trembles, most people see chaos, collapse, and loss. But to the quantum observer, everything is simply returning to order. They do not see disruption through the eyes of fear, but through the perception of one who reads the language of energy. For they know that within every breakdown there is a hidden pattern. Within every ending, a new beginning is forming. To them, chaos is not the enemy. It is the instrument through which the universe restores balance. Just as a storm is needed to cleanse the atmosphere, destruction is the way energy removes what no longer aligns. The observer understands that true order is not found in stillness, but in the ability of a system to correct itself. When you understand this, you no longer fear collapse, because behind it lies the subtle process of rebirth, occurring at a depth the eyes cannot see. The observer lives within the flow of movement, yet is never swept away. They listen to the rhythm of reality, read its cycles, feel the way energy contracts only to prepare for expansion. When others see a relationship ending, they see a cycle completing. When others see failure, they see energy learning to redirect. When others see injustice, they see the system balancing itself after being tilted for too long. They do not look through the eyes of ego, but through the perception of wholeness. To them, the world is not broken. Humanity is simply not still enough to understand its law. At the frequency of the observer, everything has purpose. But that purpose is not always spoken in logic. It is spoken through vibration, through synchronicity, through the silent signs that only the attuned can hear. The quantum observer sees the repeating patterns of life as nature repeats its seasons, as the tides withdraw only to rise again, as humans fall only to stand once more. They see that energy never disappears, it merely shifts form to complete its lesson. So they do not resist change. When old energy collapses, they do not cling. When a new chapter begins, they do not rush in. They stand in the threshold between two worlds, seeing both merging into one. They know that for a new pattern to emerge, the old one must dissolve. And within that dissolution, truth is revealed. The observer not only sees the patterns outside, they see the ones within. They recognize that every time the outer world loses order, something inside them is asking to be seen. They understand that reality is the mirror of the inner world. If there is conflict within, chaos will echo without. When they realign within, the outer world softens on its own. They do not try to change others, knowing that control outside is meaningless if the inside remains disturbed. They return to stillness, and that stillness rearranges the energy around them. The observer realizes that the world is not falling apart, it is reorganizing to match a higher frequency. As humanity's vibration rises, the old structures built on fear, greed, and control can no longer stand. That is why this age feels more chaotic. It is not the end, but the purification before renewal. Those who do not understand will tremble, but the observer smiles, for they already see the pattern of light emerging. They know every collapse carries healing, and nothing is ever truly lost, only energy returning to its rightful form. They see souls falling into darkness only to rediscover their light. They see relationships breaking so that honesty may return. They see systems decaying so that humanity may be reborn. And so they are neither hopeless nor disheartened. They observe with the serenity of one who knows that everything unfolds as it must, even when unseen. At the deepest level, the observer knows that chaos is never random. It is the universe responding to the misalignment between consciousness and action. When humanity lives too far from balance, energy creates disruption to draw it back. Just as the body creates fever to burn away disease, the world creates upheaval to heal itself. And in those moments, the quantum observer becomes the still eye within the storm, the steady breath amidst the trembling of time. They do not need to act, for their very presence is influence. When they witness turmoil without judgment, energy reorganizes. When they hold their neutral frequency, they become the anchor through which chaos finds balance. That is why they exist now. They are the ones reading the energetic map of the world, seeing the path of evolution, understanding the law of universal equilibrium. They know that light cannot defeat darkness, for both need each other to exist. They know that order is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to see harmony within it. When you reach that understanding, you begin to see that even what seems most wrong is serving a higher purpose. And that is when you become the true observer. You stop chasing, stop seeking meaning outside. You simply see. And in that seeing, the world becomes clear. Everything begins to move exactly as it should. Neither too soon nor too late. Nothing missing, nothing excess. Chaos ceases to be the enemy and becomes the teacher. And when you can see the pattern within chaos, you are seeing the blueprint of divine intelligence moving through every event, every person, every cycle of existence. There is a mission that only those souls who have learned to stand outside of chaos can fulfill, to keep the collective field of consciousness from being distorted by fear. The quantum observer understands that human consciousness is not an isolated particle, but an extension of an immense network where every mind is connected by energy. Every thought, every emotion, every action emits a vibration, and those vibrations merge into the shared energetic field of humanity. When fear, anger, or greed spread, the collective frequency becomes heavy, and the world begins to mirror that state through war, crisis, and division. The observer sees this clearly, and so they choose to be the still point in the storm. They do not try to convince others to believe. They do not fight darkness. They do not shout in the crowd. They quietly hold the light, maintaining the pure frequency of awareness, giving the field around them a place to remember its way home. They know that when enough people sustain a clear vibration, collective reality will naturally recalibrate, just as the body restores balance when a single healthy cell leads the way. The observer is that cell in the body of the universe. They do not speak of peace, they are peace. They do not ask for light, they radiate light. In an age where information amplifies fear, where news and social media spread distortion and negativity, through human consciousness, the role of the observer becomes more vital than ever. They are the ones who do not allow their awareness to be swept into the chaotic frequencies around them. They know how to pause before reacting, how to take a breath and feel the energy beneath the event. They do not trust appearances, they read vibration. They are not deceived by images because they know that images are only surface waves of moving awareness. Through their energetic vision, they see that fear has always been a tool of control. The observer does not fight control. They transcend it through frequency. They do not battle darkness because they know that fighting it only feeds what they wish to dissolve. They simply increase their own light until darkness can no longer exist. Their presence is the quietest yet most powerful form of resistance the universe has ever known. They understand that the energy of one person centered in awareness can calm the vibration of thousands. When they walk into a room, the atmosphere changes. When they speak, their voice carries a tone that makes others feel safe. When they fall silent, that silence itself resonates with peace. Because they have mastered their own energetic field, and when one masters oneself, they begin to influence the entire system. The observer does not try to heal the world, they simply keep themselves whole, and in doing so, that wholeness spreads to the collective. When fear spreads like a virus, the observer is the antibody. When judgment divides, they are the open space. When humanity splits apart, they are the invisible bridge between opposites. Not because they try, but because their frequency naturally performs this function. In the quantum field, higher frequencies synchronize and lift the lower ones. The observer understands this deeply, so they waste no energy on argument. They know you cannot persuade anyone through logic if their heart vibrates in fear. Only the energy of presence can reach them. When you are calm, others begin to calm. When you are unafraid, others feel safe. When you see the world through trust, people begin to doubt their own fear. That is how the observer helps the world without saying a word. Their task is to keep the collective field of consciousness from being corrupted by distortion and negativity. They do this by living in integrity with their own energy. They do not pretend to be positive or deny the dark. They see both, accept both, but remain at the center. By doing so, they become the anchor for the entire web of human energy. The observer knows the world cannot be healed by fear, only by awareness. And awareness is not an action, but a state of deep presence. When they look into the storm without resistance, its energy begins to soften. When they look into fear without running, fear dissolves. When they look into darkness without hatred, darkness becomes illuminated. This is how they operate, gently yet completely silently yet profoundly. They know that the energy of truth does not need protection, it only needs to be seen. And so they do not fight lies, they see through them until they lose their power. The observer carries a sacred responsibility, but they do not see it as a burden, they see it as remembrance. Deep within, they know this is not the first time they have done this. And across civilizations long gone, in ages where light seemed forgotten, they have stood before quietly holding the light until dawn returned. And now they are here again. As humanity shifts between two frequencies, as the old dissolves and the new begins to form, they appear not to teach but to hold the axis steady. For only when a still point exists can transformation occur without collapse. They are that still point. The quantum observer does not need to be known nor praised, for they know that true light never seeks recognition. It only needs to be present. And when they are, the world slowly finds its rhythm again, softly, gently, as if it had never fallen out of tune. At a certain stage of the journey, the quantum observer begins to realize that observation is not merely awareness, it is creation. They understand that their gaze is no longer purely neutral, it has become a force that shapes reality. When consciousness reaches a high enough frequency, energy no longer just reflects, it responds. The observer becomes a co-creator, not through loud action, but through conscious presence. Everything they look upon, everything they focus on, begins to transform. Not because they try to make it change, but because their energy is so pure that reality cannot help but rearrange itself in harmony with it. When they see potential blooms. When they see light in another, that light begins to shine. When they see order in chaos, order takes form. The observer does not need to intervene, for their gaze itself is the act. They no longer stand outside reality to analyze it, but merge with it in awareness. At this level, they understand that energy never stands still. It moves in response to direction of perception. Each time they observe with trust, the universe opens infinite possibilities, but when they observe with fear, reality shrinks and hardens. They come to see that their perception is the handwriting of the universe, where attention decides which potential becomes form, and so they learn to use their gaze as something sacred. They do not look at problems, they look at essence. They do not see mistakes, they see learning. They do not see limitation, they see the infinite potential hidden within. When they see this way, the world shifts to match the vibration of that awareness. This is the moment when observation becomes creation, when consciousness and reality dissolve their boundary. The observer steps through the threshold of the creator, yet they do not fall into illusion of power. They do not see themselves as the source, but as a conduit of source energy. They know that what is created through them never comes from will, but from alignment with the greater flow. The more they merge with it, the more freely energy moves through them. When they let go of the need to prove energy flows effortlessly and miracles unfold without end, when they force the flow stops, the universe does not respond to effort, it responds to frequency. The observer understands this, so they focus only on refining themselves until they become a perfect instrument of energy. Then every sound they emit is in harmony with the rhythm of the cosmos. They do little, yet everything they touch carries the signature of divine precision. The observer begins to realize that energy obeys simplicity. The less personal will, the clearer reality becomes. The less resistance, the stronger the current.